Hi Kim, it's Corey Gant with Gant Property Inspection. Hey, I just wanted to do a couple video walkthroughs with you since you can't be here, so we can talk about what I've looked at. Overall, it's a really interesting house with a lot of interesting spaces, nice spaces that can be used for in creative ways. Also, it's definitely a desirable neighborhood. I was just talking to the neighbor, and he was talking about just what goes on up here and what's close by. So yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera around. It is my camera phone, but I'm going to flip it around and we'll take a look at the house on the outside, and then I'll do another video on the inside. But overall, there's a lot to like about the place, but there is quite a bit of delayed maintenance that's going to need to be taken care of sooner than later. All right, here we go. So neighborhood, as you know, in the house. So as I walk up these stairs, you can hear that it's dry, and you can see the blackness, and then some moisture damage and or dry rot. It's just over time, wood in Western Oregon is going to rot, and it really has to be taken care of carefully in order for not to do that. So cleaning off the fir needles and cleaning off the algae, which basically the blackness is algae, and then restaining every year or two. So at this point, it's not terrible. It could be cleaned real good and then painted or stained, and maybe replace a few boards that are extra bad, or it could just be cleaned real good and just left as is for the next owners. So anyway, does need a little bit of work coming over the siding. You can see that the siding is needing cleaning, and it looks like there has been some vines that have been growing on it in the past. Still some leaves there. That should be cleaned off. Spider webs. And then the roof, I'm not going to get on the ladder, but I did take a few pictures of the roof. It definitely needs a lot of work to clean off the moss and the debris, branches, needles, and all that. So that definitely needs to be done. Is going to cause problems in the future if it doesn't get cleaned off for a while. And to get someone to do that, you really need to have someone who knows exactly what they're doing and an expert in tile roofs, so it can be done right. It's possible that walking around up there that they'll break a few tiles, that they'll need to replace them. I don't walk on the roofs, on tile roofs, because I don't want to break any tiles, but I did put my ladder up in a couple places and take a few pictures so we can just see the condition. Overall, the siding is cedar siding. It's nice and thick, and there's not a whole lot of problems besides needing to be cleaned, and really it's due to be restained, especially on the west side. It's drying out and cracking, and over time moisture can get into this, even into cedar, and start causing some trouble. And it just looks nice if it's cleaned and restained. Looks like there's some moisture damage up there on the soffit boards, and maybe there's been some birds' nests or squirrel nests. But anyway, that loose board, and then the one below it has some damage. Should be reattached or repaired, replaced. And then there's another one here. Looks like there's probably been a nest in there as well. Should be replaced. That downspout just shooting out, probably not a good idea. There's probably a better solution for that, because that's probably causing some of the moisture issues. Let's walk around to the back. Of course, this bottom step is broken and dangerous, should be repaired. This piece of siding should be put back into place. More vines been growing up there, need to be removed. Cleaning. So on this, on the west side, we get more sun, and you can see the stain is real thin on this corner, and then it's dried and curling up there, dried and cracked there, and there. I believe those could be repaired. This is going to be hard to find this siding again. I've seen it on a few houses around town, but it's probably pretty hard to get these days. So it also has aluminum windows. For the most part, we recommend upgrading to vinyl windows just for efficiency's sake. And then you have a few of these windows that looks like their seals have failed. I just noticed that one up there, the small one. It's fogged up. It's kind of hard to tell because they're dirty, but a few of them have failed seals. I think these two here are the ones I called out. So on the back side, the stain looks better, but it is still a bit thin. See it there and up there. And the back deck has some pretty good deterioration. It's actually again causing a safety issue at the step. Over here, there's some deterioration. It's still, I believe, solid, so it doesn't necessarily have to be repaired right away, but if it was cleaned off real good and restained or repainted, they actually have pretty good deck paints that fill in cracks and stuff to make them last longer. It's not a bad idea. Patio cover's nice, gives some shade back here. The framing is a little bit questionable. Noted that this back 2x6s really aren't a beam. And so in the short term it's working fine. In the long term it might not work great. So anyway, I called it out as it would be best to have the framing checked out. Doesn't necessarily mean have to change anything. And then this overhang over here is really not supported much except by screws or nails. So that's questionable framing out beyond this beam. Okay. Like I said, sometimes questionable framing will last decades, but then it might not, so that's why I have to at least mention it. Okay. Let's talk about trees. So there's trees in the neighborhood, both in your yard and the neighbors, and that's dropping a lot of things on your roof and your gutters and your decks. The roof on all spaces needs to be cleaned off, and moss gotten rid of, and that's an ongoing issue that will need to be taken care of. And same with this tree, it overhangs the roof, and so all those leaves are falling on the roof. Same with this tree, it overhangs and is kind of leaning on the roof a little bit. So my recommendation is anything close to the building should be removed. So definitely this tree, and the branches on that. I think it's an oak behind that green bush. That green bush should be trimmed real good. And then the fir tree right by the front door, that really should be removed. And the dead madrone by that should be removed. Anyway, you don't want things touching the house. Causes issues with moisture, causes issues with leaves and needles on the roof, and then it also bugs can find pathways from the shrubbery or tree to the house, and you don't want that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video here, and we'll go inside and talk about stuff inside.